Welcome to the We Can Do It Women movement, where women 60 and wiser step into the spotlight and make the rest of their lives the best of their lives. I'm your host, Debra Morrison, a wealth building expert and champion for extraordinary women just like you. For over 47 years, I've helped women secure their financial futures. And now I'm on a mission to ignite a revolution, showing the world that at 60, 70, and beyond, some of us are maybe a nickel slower, yet we're all just getting started. Today's We Can Do It Women expert interview features Dr. Geneva Williams, often known as Dr. Geneva. And she is a prominent, vibrant life and master leadership strategist, best-selling author, speaker, certified life coach with a mission to empower high-achieving women leaders, especially those over 50, to build confidence, reinvent their lives, and lead vibrantly. Dr. Geneva, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Deborah, for having me here. I'm just delighted. This is just wonderful. I'm bringing you greetings from Detroit, Michigan.
Exactly. I failed to mention that. So yes, you are in Detroit, Michigan, but I'm going to own the fact that you were born in Neptune Township, where I'm right here in New Jersey.
Oh my goodness, yes. Oh, on the Jersey Shore. Oh my goodness,
Right
yes.
now, right
I
now.
love Jersey.
Exactly. I know your friends and the woman that wrote the was it Miss Hill that wrote the intro to your book or something said,
Yeah.
you kind of moved to Detroit because well after being on the East Coast for a long time. And so I'm really grateful to have you with us, and I'm going to give our audience just a little bit more background, and then we're going to get into some deep details because you have absolutely made such footprints in the Clay about how women can reinvent themselves. You've reinvented yourself. I want to talk about some of that progression. You currently reside in Detroit, um,
Yes.
and you originally from Neptune Township, New Jersey. You moved multiple times, eventually making Detroit your long-term home. Now, your work in Detroit has been central to your legacy, and as the first female CEO of United Way Metro Detroit, the founder of City Connect Detroit, and the director of initiatives like figure skating in Detroit. Okay, so we're going to get into your leadership stuff and so forth, but that just had to stick out in my mind. Sweetheart, tell me how you got into figure skating.
Well, Deborah, it was one of those things that I did on my reinvention path, frankly.
Okay.
I, my best friend lives in Harlem, New York, been there forever. She's my bestie. We've been best friends for over 50 some years.
And she calls
And
you her sister, I'm just saying.
said she was familiar with this program, Figure State in Harlem. And she told the director about me because the director was interested in expanding the program and wanted to come to Detroit. We connected and I fell in love with the concept because clearly, figure skating is such an artistic, beautiful sport, oftentimes not accessible for young girls of color.
Absolutely.
But what it really is, Deborah, is a leadership program because what it builds in is the academics, the leadership skills, as well as the figure skating. So the figure skating is the carrot, but the real meat of it is the leadership development and growth. So she wanted to bring it to Detroit, and I helped bring it here. And not only did we dig deep roots in Detroit. The program was just so overwhelmingly successful. It's still going on today. So that's how I got in it. But I was attracted to it because, of course, of the leadership aspect of it. But it came at a time where I was in that reinvention process and needed to step into something that really focused on legacy and meaning to help get me out of the grief that I was in and the identity loss I was going through. And it was just one of those super drawers and one of the lessons and insights that I think about as we reinvent, um, particularly in our 60s,
Right.
we look for, at least I did, I looked for meaning
Yeah.
and legacy. And I believe that legacy you build now, it's not something you leave, just leave. So,
I I agree wholeheartedly. You were born, as you say, in Neptune Township, and to civil rights activist parents, and such that boy, I just the deeper I dug on your history, the more intrigued I became. You co-authored the book with your dad, Ermund. No, I'm messing up. I'm gonna
oh,
get his
you're right,
name.
Ermi.
Um, and this book highlighted the victories and the well, struggle, first of all, and then the victories of her dad. Her dad, Erman K. Jones, who lived to a ripe old age of 92, God love him. And this is the story. The book is called Justice on the Jersey Shore: How Erman Jones Ignited Change and Won. Demonstrates the power of inspired leadership, how an ordinary person can use his or her personal influence to transform reality. Your dad, a basketball star. Tell me about your dad, first of all. Your mom probably was, elbow right beside him. So talk to me about being raised in such an activist community. How rich with meaning that had to have been.
Well, the community I was raised in was one that my sister and I used to always feel that people went somewhere and had a meeting on us because they always knew our business. They was always in our business, on our case, and they constantly were following us, making comments for us, giving us suggestions, etc. And so much so that we both felt it was a conspiracy. Later on, I realized it was. It was a conspiracy coming from a caring community of adults. And that really shaped my thinking and my world perspective alongside of my parents who were ordinary people, Deborah. My mom was a school teacher, my dad was a government worker, and they were civil rights activists
Mhm.
well into, continue to work well into their 80s and 90s, which again is another lesson about how we can, it's never too late.
It's
We can do anything that we want to. But my dad was a born and raised in Neptune, small town hero, led his basketball team for the first time to the state championships, went to the fight in the war, came back, expected that, got his master's,
yes.
expected that he and his wife could move wherever they wanted to move. Well, that wasn't the case.
I'm
And he was denied a home of his choice and then made the decision to spend the next 3 years fighting to live where he wanted to live, irrespective of the color of his skin. And after 3 years, the state Supreme Court of New Jersey ruled in his favor. It was a landmark case and really changed housing discrimination in the state of New Jersey. And so it was a story I wanted to tell. And I began writing it in my late 60s. And we would sit at the kitchen table. It was it was a tough time for us, Deborah, because he had just lost my mom
Oh,
and they were
yes.
married for 60 some years.
Mm.
And I had just lost my husband.
Husband,
We were
yes.
married for 40 years. And we would sit at the kitchen table. I'd turn on the recorder and have him talk and just talk and talk. Now, Deborah, I knew many of these stories growing up. I'd see the newspaper articles, there were plaques on the wall. But diving deep at this particular time was really eye-opening. And again, he was in his 90s.
And in his voice.
Active, yes, his voice and all of that. So it was a life-changing experience for me, which again was another lesson in how we can do anything at any age and be changed and evolve into someone that we want to become. So I had always wanted to be an author. And we had planned to, of course, publish the book together, but he passed before that happened. And in fact, Deborah, read the final manuscript and told me it's ready, it's good. And but Deborah, it took me another couple of years before I actually published because I was still going through my own grief, trying to figure out who I was and what happened to my identity. And I used to be married and a wife, but now I wasn't. And what did that mean? And all of those kinds of things. So it took me a couple of years,
Yeah.
but I finally did publish the book, and it tells his story, and he wanted it as a leadership tribute as well as guidance, particularly for young people coming up. And Deborah, I think this is the insight for us as women over 60
Go ahead.
and our legacy, that it's so important, I believe, to build it while we're still living. It doesn't have to just be something we leave, that we can build it. So here he is at 90 some, absolutely obsessed
Yeah.
with building this legacy while he was still living in his 90s.
Love
And
it.
and Deborah, I had to do it because he told everyone in our town, we're a small town, he told everyone, my nickname is Gigi.
I was going to say, yeah.
Gigi's writing a book about me. He told everybody. So anytime I would go there, people would ask, how's the book
How's the
coming?
book?
When's the signing? So I had to go through it.
Of course you did.
Another
Oh,
insight about the support network and people that we surround ourselves with during uh, this midlife, and how important having those connections with others is.
well, I'm sending you comfort still. I mean, it was 9 years
Yes,
ago.
thank you. I
This
received it.
this is I'm a certified grief coach, as a matter of fact, and I have
And a certified financial planner.
financial planner. And I don't know, we just brought out the second edition of My Husband Died, Now What? A Widow's Guide to
Oh,
Grief Recovery and Smart Financial Decisions. And so I'm totally with you in terms of the quagmire of grief, and
yes,
the way that if we attempt to grieve and then figure out, objective kinds of
absolutely.
intellectual decisions, it kind of muddies the grieving and it muddies the intellectual. And so we really need to
Absolutely.
parse those out, and it takes time. And so you talk about in your moment of grief, you found a bigger meaning in the dash. Talk
Yes.
about that.
Yeah, well,
Explain to people
I
what the
just
dash
want to
is.
do a PS to what you just said,
Go
because
ahead.
the financial aspect of the loss of a spouse and what you do next, Deborah, that was a heavy piece.
Right
If
now.
I could write a playbook about what you need to do in midlife, is to get your financial act together. So I so much respect the words, wisdom, and advice that you put out for us as women in midlife. So I just wanted to say that PS
Thank you.
to that story. Yeah, so Deborah, I was in a habit, frankly, of crying every night.
Yes.
I found myself, because it wasn't just my man, after all those years that I had lost, but I also became a caregiver of him and my mom and dad, who also got sick, and I lost them all around the same time.
Ah,
And so, it was that new role of caregiver, because no one prepares us for that.
right now.
And all of that I was going through. So I found myself in deep, deep grief, that fog, didn't know what I was going to do next, and was crying every single night. And this one night, Deborah, I mean, I can just see it so clearly. I had their obituaries out, the three of them, because again, they all died around the same time. I was the executor of
I,
all of their estates. I
yep.
put together the obituaries, a whole bit. Deborah, how that
I've
can
done
be.
it.
And I'm sure many in your audience understand that. And so I had the obituaries out on the floor. I was sitting on the floor, just crying, etc. And it had become a nightly ritual.
Yes, indeed.
And this one night, and I can see it so clearly, it was just about around 6-ish. And I was looking at the obituaries like I had so many times, and then I noticed the dash, that horizontal stroke on each of their obituaries, that tells when you were born and when you left this earth. And it came to me, Deborah, that, well, what I loved about them, what I really missed about them, what made their life's meaning to me was that dash, the life, what happened in that stroke, that horizontal stroke. And I said, it just blew me and I said, wow, I need to make sure that my children say the same thing about my horizontal stroke.
Sweet.
And that began my comeback. It really did, Deborah. And because I began to say that I know what I loved about those three people who were the most important people in my life,
Yes.
and that what was meaningful was how they lived their lives. And I asked myself, well, how are you going to live your life? Is it going to be over? No, I came to that conclusion because I wasn't there
Oh, I
all
hear you.
the
I
time.
hear
Them. You know
you. Yeah.
how it gets.
It's a
You just
journey.
have
Yeah.
that guilty feeling that you're left. At least I did.
Yep.
That guilty feeling that I was left here and what am I going to do and what's my purpose and all of that. And but I first had to come to the mindset change that said it's not over. You do want to live, and how do you want to live, and what do you want to do? And I began to put the pieces back,
Mm.
step by step, little by little, with lots of prayer
Absolutely.
and doing different things. And so that's how I recognize the dash and why it's important and why it still stands as the symbol for me in my reinvention journey, which I'm still on.
Sure.
And I made the decision. One of the things that I asked, and I think it's so important for us as women, particularly in midlife, to like we can say, well, I want to go on living, I want a great life. What does that mean? What does that look like? And I had decided that I wanted to live, and I found this word, vibrant life.
Yes.
That's what I wanted. And so I began to ask myself, okay, well, what does that mean? Vibrant life. And so as I defined it, what it meant for me, it's not right or wrong or what have you, what it meant for me. And as I coach women today, that's one of the early things that we do. What does that mean for you? What does it look like? Because the beauty of this phase of life is we don't have to be asking nobody for permission no more. Okay? At least I feel we don't.
Right now.
So
Right
we
now.
can be designers of
There,
our own uh, life.
there you are.
Yeah.
More and more, as I read up on you, reinvent your lives, lead vibrantly, and then I saw pictures of you, and I heard you on the podcast, and it's just like, yep, oh yeah, she's bringing it. So you talk about symbolizing purpose and legacy. I love the legacy notion of what you said a few minutes ago, and that is, and I espouse us women living our legacy and then leaving it, right? And because there's a lot of parallels between finances. Like people like, oh, I can't spend any money now because I got
Right.
maybe for later, and then we rob ourselves of the present. Like it is the present, and you don't, no one's guaranteeing tomorrow. And so the issue is the concept that you're bringing to complete life and vibrancy is the imagining our legacy, living it more fully, maybe adding another appendage onto it, and then whatever is left is indeed left. And so the whole aspect of your life and moving through that, and that is just horrifically grief filled. But as I'm reading, it reshaped your mission and then led you to create your coaching framework, the What's Next formula. So talk with us about that.
Yeah. So I, Deborah, as I thought about, where I was and the things that I needed to do to step out, I relied a lot on what I did before, which is one of the techniques and strategies I suggest to women over 50, over 60, because we've learned so much. We've been successful in so many different things,
Yeah, we've
and
done a
it's
lot.
okay. And I don't believe we start from scratch,
No way.
that we have so much to build on. So I had spent a lifetime, 40-year plus career in transforming communities and organizations and neighborhoods. I started my career with United Way
Yes, yes.
and then moved on to a national model, a philanthropic model that raised lots of money for business and community causes, and then transitioned into entrepreneurship in my late 60s.
Well,
What?
excuse me, but I have to sneak in a little bit of a detail here because you glazed right over that. And you were the CEO of United Way Metro Detroit, oversaw over 100 million in community funding. All right, a few dollars.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you. It was a phenomenal piece, and I also oversaw the distribution of millions of dollars, and in my career have raised
raised
over
it.
$120 million for various causes. So that was it was a terrific, a terrific thing. And what I did was I stopped and said, well, what have I done in my life that's been successful? And what have I achieved? And what are my skills and what are my strengths? And a lot of that lay in the transformation work that I did in communities, even the raising of dollars
Yes,
and building partnerships. In all of that were a lot of skills, problem solving, communication,
yes,
resiliency,
yeah.
um, just a lot of different skills. And that's what I suggest to us as women, that we have so much that we've done, that we can identify those strengths and skills. And what I decided to do was, okay, if I think of my own personal reinvention alongside of the community and organizational transformation work that I did, what are the things that are common? What are the themes?
Good.
And from that came my next What's Next framework, where the first step is to really change your narrative, your story. One of the biggest things that we over 60 need to change is the mindset that it's too late, because it
All
ain't.
right.
And so, whatever those stories are, like it's too late, and can I begin again, and what do I do, and where do I, all them stories that we told, I'm past my prime,
Right.
all of those things, changing the mind shift. And particularly, Deborah, because society tells us that when you hit 50, you go one, it's a decline.
Out to pasture.
That's right. And I reject that. I say that there's another path that you can choose, and that is to live your life fully and find your purpose, reclaim all that you want. And so that first step is to shift your mindset. The second is to create a vibrant vision.
There you go.
There's that word vibrant again, but who do you see yourself becoming? And you can dream it. Why not? Because the thing I believe about once you hit that 50s, 60s is you just don't need permission. You can just create and think anything that you want to. So that's the second step. And now the third step is a very practical one, and that is build a plan. You got to create a game plan. And this comes from my years of community planning, working with grassroots organizations, everyday people, and developing plans for their neighborhoods, their communities, the young people in their community. How do you go from A to B in terms of your neighborhood, creating it, finding kids jobs, just all kinds of social issues and problems. We always developed a game plan.
Right now.
And we need to do that, something that's got goals and action steps, but also has timelines and resources and who's going to support you. I'm very realistic when I think about planning. And then that's the third step. And then the fourth step in this what's next framework, so you can figure out what's next, is to find and give joy. And so many of the things that I read and see and frameworks that, I've studied throughout the years, Deborah, on the subject of this midlife reinvention and transformation, doesn't have this joy component that I discovered as I reinvented myself in the late 60s, that this process of finding and giving joy is something, so critical, so important, so connected to our spirit and soul and what helps us move forward. That, you do the things that you love to do and you bring yourself joy and you give joy to others and you volunteer, you serve as a mentor, you give money to charitable causes, all of those things, so that you give joy as well as find joy. So that's my framework that I teach, and it's in all my coaching, my consulting, my speaking. One way or another, those steps have proven for me and for the many, many women that I coach and work with to be a solution to the question of, well, what do I do now in midlife?
Right, right. This is so rich, and it's not. It just we're just scratching the little surface. I want to rewind a little bit because you came from highly educated parents. Not only were they activists, civil rights movement. They both had master's degrees from Morgan State. You earned a BS in English at Morgan State. You earned an MSW in community organization and public policy from Bryn Mawr. What an esteemed institution, and a doctorate in educational leadership from Wayne State University. And so obviously the rich intellectual background has given you so much of the, framework, if you will, the planning and that kind of thing that you've been able to carry forward. You were university professor, school superintendent, consultant, executive in multiple nonprofits. I'm not sure there's something you haven't done, my friend. I don't know, do you sleep?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you what I'm doing now.
Yeah, let me hear
That's
it.
fun. I'm dancing, and partner dancing, and
Couple dancing. Oh my gosh, what kind?
ballroom, social, salsa, cha-cha. Yes. And
Um,
let me tell you now, so let me share this story. So what I discovered, Deborah, you know how it is when we lose a spouse, a
yeah.
male spouse, and it's always, it's a partnership. So no matter what role you play, leader, follower, whatever, it's a partnership. You always have someone that you check in with, you bounce things off of, etc. Well, as when my husband passes, I'm sure, you've experienced the same thing. It was all on me. So
Yes.
that took a whole lot of time for me to get used to, okay? Because I always had someone, if it wasn't him, before him, it was my parents.
Right. And
You
then
know,
you
I
also,
could bounce things off of truck, etc. So I went into full on 100% executive mode. You know, that part of the brain
that's right.
that
Just,
where you the executive. You do everything, you make all the decisions. And it was scary and it was different. I'm loving it now, okay? But in the beginning, it was real scary.
yeah.
And I didn't, I would always second guess myself. I wasn't sure I was doing things right. I made a ton of mistakes, spent a lot of money I shouldn't have
Uh,
spent.
there we are.
Okay. I mean, real deal.
Yeah.
And then I began to come into my own. And one of the things I decided to do, Deborah, was that to start dancing. Well, why? Because I had spent these past 3 to 4 years being total executive, total. I mean, I was the leader in everything. I made all the decisions. I didn't have to check with nobody, da 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 da, the whole thing. And I was feeling good about that. But I also wanted to start dating again.
Yeah.
And I felt I had lost my feminine side.
Okay.
You know, we all have a masculine and a feminine side. Well, my masculine side was going full
Yeah,
time.
it was on
Okay.
steroids.
That's right. So, one of the things I decided to do was to start partner dancing because, in partner dancing, you got a definite lead, and the woman's role, for the most, is to follow. And I
Typically.
said, well, let me see, let me learn that again. So, I'm dancing now, and I love it, and I'm considering competing in ballroom dancing and
Love that.
salsa and the cha-cha, the Latin rhythm one. So that's something that I'm doing. But you asked, how do I sleep? Oh no, one of the things we must do
Yeah.
as women is get our sleep.
Oh, right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm usually like right after we finish here, Deborah, there's about an hour and then I'll be in bed.
Yep.
Sleep hygiene for us as women over 60 is critical.
So important.
We've got to do it. We've got to get it. We've got to get that rest. And we need that sleep for our mental stability as well as eliminating stress. And we still get stress in midlife. It looks different than
Mhm.
it did when we were in our 20s and 30s, but we've got that stress and more. It's a killer
Yeah.
if we don't
It,
deal with it.
it is. And sleep isn't a luxury. I'm so happy for you to opine on that because I think, I mean, I was at a place in my life and it was several decades ago, but I mean, I thought I was doing okay. I was like living on 4.5, 5 hours of sleep. And I was always thinking that more is better. And of course, as I aged, I got smarter. And now I'm getting much more sleep. And I too, I love the early morning. So I do go to bed, typically I'm in bed by 10. And boy, but I'm up at 4:35
Mhm.
and just like ready to. Now I was in a racquetball league 100 years ago. It was a 5:30 league and I lived almost 45 minutes away. But by the time I'm on the racquetball court and I'm in my office, like completely ready to take on anything, and it's like 7:30.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And having those routines is another
That's important.
strategy
Yeah,
for us.
yeah.
Those routines, the evening routines, the morning routines, it gives us certainly a sense of control,
Yes, right.
uh, something we can expect, helps our body rhythm and
Yeah.
helps us manage energy, which I think is one of the defining aspects of midlife when we come into midlife, that it's less about time and more about energy.
Oh, I like
That
that.
is
I
how
like
we, invest our energy. What's the energy return? If I do this, what kind of, is this going to lift me up? Is this going to give me energy? And then those energy drainers that come into our life,
that.
the people and activities, we got to get rid of those things.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, the question I'm having, like I think I've heard it 3 times this week. If you're approaching something, will this energize my mission or will it detract from my mission? And it is around energy. And I speak about money as energy.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's completely in that. And now we're coming back to that whole boomerang kind of circular giving, taking joy in, feeling joy, expressing joy, and giving joy and participating in joy. I think this entire mode of living and how you have defined it now is completely profound and right on. I want to talk to our people about the fact that you've done a number of things. What's Next Formula, the Vibrant Life Blueprint, and you've done thought leading programs around menopause, executive
Yes.
and midlife reinvention. So you have a host, you're the host, excuse me, of Ignite to Impact podcast. You have a Future is Female LinkedIn newsletter. You won the Crain's Detroit Business 100 Most Influential Women Notable Nonprofit Leader, the NABO Top Businesswoman Award, that's a national award, the Urban League Distinguished Warrior, the appointed to the Michigan Women's Commission. Holy camole, you are so celebrated, and yet I'm sure you're not celebrated to the extent you will when you stand on that top box having won the dancing competition.
That is what I'm looking forward to, see. But see, all of that, oh, I mean, I am so blessed and truly grateful for the recognition of the work that I do. What brings me joy are my 5 grandchildren
Oh, wonderful.
now, 2 of whom are twins, and seeing them grow and really um, being grateful. My children, who are all out the house now and out my pocketbook. I
Well,
mean,
you
what
did many
joy.
things right, my sweet.
I mean, what joy. Out the house, out my pocketbook, and grands. It
No,
doesn't get sweeter.
you got the trifecta right there.
It's so sweet. But I appreciate you lifting that up. And again, I'm building. My mission is to build that legacy now. And in doing that legacy, it's really about helping women, mobilizing women to be able to navigate what I think is the most awesome stage of life, this midlife, this second act, and to navigate it with confidence and joy. And because we can do it. Now it's tough. It really is tough. And one of the reasons I started highlighting and giving attention to both menopause and perimenopause is that oftentimes, as we go through leaving a legacy, being these leaders, trying to create impact, figuring out what's next,
Yes,
that menopause and the changes our body is going through get in the way.
kind of.
It's there. And those things get in the way. And we want to be very much aware of it, which I know I went through perimenopause and had not a clue
Yeah, yeah.
that I was going through it,
Right.
what it was. And so I think as we bring more attention to how our bodies are going through change, because if you're a woman, you're going to go through this.
You're gonna.
And what does it mean? And how can you deal with it? And how can you navigate successfully through it?
Mhm, mhm.
Um, so that's the work that I enjoy doing.
Your other 2 books beside that, which you co-authored with your dad, Living Life Over 50, Unleashing the Fabulous You. Uh,
Yes. This is
so
my living life of, I always keep it here, so I'll put it up. This
absolutely.
one, Living Life Over 50. Now, this I did shortly after I published my dad's book,
Okay.
but then I just reprinted it
Well, good.
because I did it, Deborah, before I realized that there was a phase after widowhood.
Nice.
So I didn't realize that when my husband passed. I said, "Oh, I'm a widow. I'll be a widow forever. I didn't realize that the phase of being a single woman was real, and I could be a single woman, and that I transitioned from widowhood to a single woman. And that actually is a different phase.
It
And
is.
so I rewrote this, I updated it
Mm.
to talk about living life over 50 and finding love and all that kind of thing. Um, so that's kind of special to me.
Totally special. Totally special. Um, I'm trying to see because you have, okay, so this was so amazing to me. I was like, yes. Defying traditional norms, Dr. Geneva entered and won the Ms. Black Fit and Fine pageant at age 69. OMG. Talk to us about this. This is so great.
Okay. So that again, and the things we've been talking about, I really want your audience, women, sisters out there, all of you who are, in your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, to realize that we can do so much in taking those sometimes scary steps, but stepping out of your comfort zone can really make a difference. Yeah. So one day, a friend of mine came to me. I had just lost my husband, past year or so, and I was trying to get myself together, pulling myself, not totally successful at doing that at all yet. And she said, well, there's this beauty pageant that I think you should be a part of. And it's a beauty pageant for women, fit and fine beauty pageant for women over 50. And so I said, beauty pageant, why would I go into a beauty pageant? And she said, no, the whole purpose of the pageant isn't about the beauty, and you don't have to wear a swimsuit, which, okay, was a
That was
great,
that was
got my
really
attention. Oh, I don't have to do that. And she said that you can, because it's celebrating women over 50 and what we can do, what we need to do, what we should do, how we can be fit and fine,
right.
and be in our 50s and 60s, etc. So I said, oh, and she said, it's a platform that you can use to speak all over the state about this issue. I said, oh, okay, let me try it out. And I knew it was one of those step out of your comfort zone. Because I had, Deborah, really lost my voice. I'd been communicating hundreds of speeches and all of that, but when I had all this loss, I really lost my voice too. And really, what it was, I lost my purpose. I wasn't clear. I wasn't confident. I couldn't speak. And so this was really traumatic for me to do it, but she kept encouraging me. So I said, well, let me just jump on out there. Now, Deborah, I want to tell you, out of all the contestants, I was the oldest. And so, yeah, I was
No, I'm going to
68,
say it's
69 at the time.
it's for people over 50. You were
Right.
competing with girls that were 50 and a month, and you're
Right.
69.
Well, not only that, they were also, I think the biggest was a size 12. Most of them were
Oh,
size 8, size 10, and I am a curvy, vivacious woman. It was so funny, Deborah, because they pretty much ignored me. I mean, they tried not. I mean, they were wonderful women, all of that, but just conditioning, socialization.
yeah.
I mean, I was the old school.
They othered you.
Yes, right.
Othered you.
And it was an amazing experience. I put my whole heart into it. I pulled from what I knew. See, that's the difference because I took with me everything that I knew. I knew I did know how to speak. And so if I could find my voice, I could do that. I did know how to carry myself. I did know how to problem solve. So every time there was an issue or how you walk or how you act, I could figure it out. There were so many things that we go through, Deborah, that we can take into these challenges. So I brought everything with me,
Absolutely.
won and won. And
Unbelievable.
so I won it, and I spent that next year going to all places across the state of Michigan talking about issues that affect of us, how we can stay fit and healthy and vibrant throughout our life. And so, but again, it was an experience of stepping outside the comfort zone and trying something new and different when you're lost, when you're
I know.
not sure kind of what to do next. Sometimes how you get your confidence is to act. So,
Absolutely.
so rather than have it all figured out, have everything perfect, to move, to act, to do before you're really ready. Because once you act and do that and actually practice, because that's how confidence comes, I believe, you practice it and then confidence will catch up with you. And so you step out there and you do and you build your confidence, then you try something else and you build your confidence and on and on and on. So it was one of those things that I did to rebuild my life.
Well, I happen to think that the veil between here and the thereafter is gossamer thin. And I speak with people that have passed that I whom I've loved and been in relationship with a, a lot. And so it feels to me, just as you're talking about it, I've got your dad up here and your mom shouting, your husband, your everybody's like, okay, go ahead. Go ahead. You got this.
Right.
And, something, is a precipitating event when we go through this. I mean, Maya Angelou, underwent all that abuse, and she just was mute, right? And most of us can understand that. Some of us have experienced some of it, and so I am so grateful that your friend, introduced you to it, and that you continue to bear forward, move forward, despite the fact that, upon arrival, these girls were kind of, ostracizing you. The bringing all of you is what I get as I researched you and what I get as I'm speaking with you now. Yeah, this is absolutely infectious. And this is one of the reasons, aside from your competency for sure, that you have attracted such a following and such audiences. And I invite every single one of us to take part in any number of things. I'm going to ask you to give us some tips and tools as to how best to do that. But this is an epitome, everyone, of a woman who has absolutely shoulder to the grindstone said, I have more legacy to live before I leave it. And if I left this afternoon, it would be a huge legacy. And yet I have that dancing competition to win, first of all. And then you're going to be coaching more and more women so that it's a compound effect. Of course, I can't help myself using these financial terms, but it's a
Mhm.
compound effect because your influence and touches your coaching clients and touches your ice skaters and touches all of these not-for-profit boards and volunteers is what is going to give people their voice back when they have a period of complete uncertainty for sure, bereavement and other kinds of things that set us back, not the least of which is the state of our country right now. So I am so grateful for your vibrancy, for your follow through. I want to circle back. I read that you were a college DJ, uh, and you have a lifelong passion, and that was kind of part of it for communication and public speaking. And so I think being the daughter of these civil rights activists, you probably were trained from a knee high to a grasshopper. But this whole thing of being a DJ is fun. And now you're dancing to maybe some of the music that you played as a college DJ. I don't know, but that's a fun fact about you, and I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, in fact, it was in when I left um school and went to Philadelphia where I did my graduate work. Um and there was it was the time of the disco scene.
Okay.
And this group of guys had started these disco parties and were highly successful. And they wanted to start a girls group that
Uh,
would give discos on a Wednesday night. And so they asked me and my roommate at the time, who was one of my best friends and sorority sisters, and a couple of others. I think there was five of us to form this girls group and give this disco party every Wednesday night. And I was the DJ. So I had my two turntables and I was spinning the records and doing the wax and all of that. I mean, it was just so much fun. And so yeah, that was one of the highlights of my time being there in Philly. So yes, the music is a great part of my life. And again, it's one of those things that if it brings you joy,
yeah.
find every absolute possible excuse to bring it into your life all the time and to do it. And so much of this, Deborah, I know I've learned through trial and error.
Yeah.
And and no matter what your situation is in life, no matter what your circumstances are, I believe that we can make a difference for ourselves and we can do those things to be better, whatever that is. You define it for you, no matter where you are in your stage of life. If you want to grow, if you want to develop, if you want to find those pathways to a better you, to become a better you, you can do it. You can be that architect, that designer of your life. And let's do it.
You are doing it. I'm doing it. We're all doing it in our own way. And this
Yes,
action is so vital, especially when we don't know steps 4, 5, 7, 8, 12, 14.
exactly.
I think that it's emboldened action on our belief, and when our belief and our morality and our verve and vibrancy has brought us, quote unquote, safe, not unscathed, but safe thus far, then I think it's incumbent upon us to look down and say the answers are within. And I deserve joy. I want to talk, I want to just put a little double click on that about deserving joy. I don't know if
Mhm.
you have coached women through that. Like, oh, I know, I can't laugh. I can't really have a good time because I gotta do the dishes. Talk to us about how you invite them to be a deserving receiver of their own joy or others' joy in their direction.
Mhm. Well, first of all, again, it's a mindset shift.
Yes.
I believe that happiness is our birthright.
Right.
And believing that you deserve everything that is wonderful in life is a mindset shift. If you're thinking that I don't deserve it, I can never get it, I'm too old, it's too late, all of those stories, much of that negative thinking that we tell ourselves that are in our heads.
Right.
So the first is to make that shift to believing that, the world is yours to have. You, in fact, can write your story. And some of the techniques that I go through with women is to actually identify some of those negative beliefs and
Yes.
then reframe, then ask yourself the truth. Well, what is the truth of this? If you have a negative belief that I'm too old, well, let's stop and think about the truth of that. How true is that. And then once we get through that, then we can reframe. Well, if in fact you've discovered that that's not really true, in terms of too lateness, then what in fact could be the different story. And so the process of naming it, uh, asking yourself whether or not it's really actually true, and then reframing that belief is a very important process to go through. And so it's all about, I believe, making those mindset shifts so that in fact you open yourself up
Yes.
to joy and those things. And then here's the other thing, Deborah. Finding joy don't have to be hard. My mom had these fabulous dishware set, this china that my sister and I craved for years. And for any gift that I would give her over the years was a piece of china. And when she passed, I got all the china. And I used to put it in my kitchen cabinet and cupboard, and I would bring it out for special occasions.
I'm
I mean,
with
that was my mom's china. And then one day, Deborah, I said to myself, I love that china. Every time I look at a piece, drink something from a coffee, or coffee in the cup or
you. In the
something,
cup and the
special
saucer.
occasion.
Yeah.
Right. I said, I find joy. I said, you know what? I'm going to use that china. So I now use my mom's china every single day. In fact, her dinner plate, the small dinner plates sit on my kitchen buffet counter so that every day I see them, I reach for them, I use them every single day. Why? Because it brings me joy and I deserve. My birthright is to be happy.
Oh, mic drop. I am so appreciative of your being, your soul, your spirit, and your sharing your valuable time with us. I am beyond words grateful for that. Tell our people how they can get in touch with you, what you'd like them to read first, because there's so much to read and or listen to. Give us the best place for us to be in touch with you, and then we'll put it in the show notes as well.
Okay, great. I'm on all social platforms
Yep.
at Dr. Geneva Speaks. So I'm on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, IG, all places at Dr. Geneva Speaks. You can find me there. I also go live on all of those platforms every Wednesday, Eastern Standard Time, 9 o'clock in the morning. And I particularly would love for you all to visit my YouTube channel. I'm trying to build that up.
Let's do it.
So I would love for you to, come to my YouTube channel. And then the other thing, Deborah, and I think we left the how you get it. I have a Reinvention After 50, a strategic action plan guide that's real simple to use that you can start with to figure out what your next steps could be. And it's very simple, but it's free. And I would love for people to go ahead and get that free guide. It's a strategic action plan, simple step by step for how you can figure out your next. If you have those questions, well, what can I do in my 60s? Is it too late? What are my strengths? Because sometimes we have to really sit back and think about what our
Right.
talents and strengths are. But all of that, it's a simple step-by-step guide, and I'd love people to come and get that and figure it out.
We're so grateful for that gift. So generous on your part. And yes, we will put that in the show notes. I've got the link right here. This has been absolutely phenomenal. We have, just expanded our imagination as to our legacy, our purpose, and how it is that we're going to um, give and receive more joy, because that is completely relevant to the vibrancy of our life. We're all going to be cheering for you. I want to hear back about the dance competition, or even
Yes, I'll let you know.
practices. I mean, it's always a beautiful thing. So I am completely aligned in so many ways, not as talented as you, and yet I am so grateful to have our specialties meld as they have, and
Absolutely.
um, and just make our viewing audience all the richer. So
And again, I want to congratulate you because, we're sinking right here, we can do it, that theme. And I've read all your material, followed you. I joined your group,
thank
your
you.
Facebook group, yes, and introduced myself
Oh,
today.
oh,
And
good. Glad to have been
yes, so
on
I'm
yesterday.
looking forward to this being the beginning
Right now.
of a relationship and working together. I so much appreciate and respect all you do.
Wow. All right, back at you, girlfriend. Right back at you. So we are in this together. Thank you so much for joining. And thank you, our viewing audience, for joining us on the We Can Do It Women show. Remember, I see you. I value you. And your greatest chapter is just beginning. If today's episode sparked something in you, I invite you to continue to follow the good doctor and check out our wealth and wellness luxury retreat, because that is going to give a whole bunch of women, at 10 as a matter of fact, joy in the south of France. We're going to cultivate wealth and creativity together. Yes, you're going to leave the retreat heavier, probably because we have a personal chef on staff. We have a sommelier coming in for those that drink wine, and we have all of the cheeses that France is known for. This is going to be an opulent experience in terms of delectable food and drink and experience and vistas. And yet every morning I'm going to teach you women how to make money. Literally, you'll leave with the life skill of how to make money, and perhaps in a different way than you have done so before. I'm checking out 2 new ways today, in the past 2 months, that I will vet by October. It's October 25th through November 1st, 1 week. Obviously, you can put Paris on the front of it or something on the back of it and make it amazing. This is a tax deductible expense, and each and every one of you is going to be enriched if you take the action step to say, I deserve to know it. So if money has been an issue for you in the past, if you got the whole thing under control and you want to just come and eat some cheese and great food, God love you. And if you have thought that, I'm undersaved, I don't know how to do this, then what better opportunity than in an environment that's so fresh and so vibrant and so welcoming than this mansion, refurbished mansion by my dear friend, Abby Carter, than to be at the Chateau de Boré in Agen, France. So we can do it women.com/retreats. Check it out. I am so eager to talk with any of you and answer any questions you have about it. I am excited about it because we went there last year and the people were raving about it. You can see the testimonials. This is a time, and certainly by October, we are going to probably need some uplifting, and this will be nothing short of that. So I invite you to check it out. In the meantime, Dr. Geneva, thank you so very much, and good night.